These highlights from the Probate podcast will help you navigate life transitions like a pro. From senior living to estate planning to probate, you'll learn incredibly useful tips. Be sure to like and subscribe to hear more from Sherry Lund and her expert guests.
So you're doing a ton of stuff in the background, and then a family calls and they're at their wits' end. What's your process with them? What do you do to take them from being chaotic and confused and decision overload to narrowing things down to finding the next best place for their person?
So we do start with a phone call. It's an opportunity for me to talk with them about what's going on with their loved one, what's going on from a health perspective, what's going on from the perspective of, and here's a keyword. If you got your pen and pencil, you want to write this down.
Okay.
Activities of daily living and instrumental activities of daily living. The instrumental activities of daily living are things like going to the grocery store, planning a menu, managing money, arranging transportation, that sort of thing. And then there's the more basic activities of daily living, which are things like bathing yourself safely. And safely is the key word there. Dressing, grooming. And my dad, I'll tell you, he had a collection of toothbrushes when I was growing up. He was the most hygienic man I've ever met. However, there came a point in his disease progression that he wasn't brushing his teeth anymore. And that's how it wasn't my only indication, but that was a real big kick in the pants for me. Hey, something is very different with dad. And so just really getting to understand all of those activities of daily living, because the next thing we do is we start to combine the information that I have from the medical discussion with the information from the activities of daily living discussion to really drill down on what's the most appropriate level. We call it level of care, another keyword for them. So some people, what they need is just a safety net. They maybe need some meals prepared for them, some housekeeping, but they don't need any help with their activities of daily living. And for them, independent living might be appropriate. And of course, there's different styles of independent living, and drilling down to which one is the next step. But once we can target that independent living is appropriate, that's fantastic. Sometimes assisted living is appropriate. And within assisted, there's actually a social model and a care model. When you drive past that place that, is a huge, big, beautiful building, and it's like a cruise ship on land. They've got bingo and every darn activity under the sun. That's more of a social model. And so with that, you're usually going to see additional charges for care. So there's the rent, and then there's the care charge on top of that. And for somebody who can enjoy a social model, that's fantastic. For somebody who is bedbound or just in a different position with their activities of daily living, then they're going to be more appropriate for the care model. So then we drill down a little further. And then, of course, for people with a cognitive diagnosis, in some cases, memory care is what's appropriate for them. And in some cases, it's not. That's where I think having that strong foundation of dementia knowledge helps me to help guide the families on which would be appropriate for them, because sometimes it's absolutely necessary and sometimes we go a different direction. That phone call is where we really just drill down. And then usually by the end of that phone call, I've got 3 or 4 places in mind that seem like they'd be a good fit. Of course, we discussed geography as well. So, if the family I'm working with is in Conroe, probably not going to find a place in Cyprus. We're going to find a place close to them. So usually by the end of the call, I have a small handful of places in mind where basically any place they choose is probably going to be a good fit. At that point, it's choosing among some pretty good options. I have my proprietary data sheets on each community that I also tailor for each case that I'm working on. There's a lot of information just by having gone into each of these facilities multiple times over years, and also by having clients at each of these places. So I prepare the data sheets, the families and I tour together, usually within a week or so of our first call, but sometimes it's longer, sometimes it's shorter. We tour together. We really get into it. One time I picked up an adult daughter for a day of tours, and we had really had extensive phone calls. But then when we got in the car, she said, "Oh gosh, things are really hard for my mom right now. My mom was a survivor of sexual assault, and that's where she's at right now cognitively. That's what she's thinking about." And then my heart kind of sunk for a minute, because I knew that the places we had on our agenda when I thought about who worked there, who managed it, how they managed it, fantastic places that great for most people, but they weren't going to be great for this woman because of what she'd experienced. So I pulled over and made some changes to our itinerary, and we instead chose a place where her bedroom was kind of tucked in the back of the house, so it felt safe. It wasn't one of the ones in the front that was a high traffic area. There were female caregivers. The men who were there were non-threatening, just trying to keep in mind what it must be like to be stuck mentally in that position.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
sorry, it was a long answer.
But perfect. And there's those stories really give us an idea of how you're not just checking things off of a box. You're listening and you're asking questions and you're hearing even what's not said. And your thinking cap never goes off. You're still very engaged with what the family is looking for. And you're also keeping in mind, we didn't talk about this before, but how you don't want to move them from place to place to place. That's so hard when they're older. So to find a place that's good for them now, but will also be good for them down the road.
100%. You're completely right about that. That's one of the things that's really important to me. Sometimes if it's a first move for somebody and they are fiercely holding on to staying in their home, sometimes we do have to go with what I call a stair-step approach, where they might spend a couple years at the cruise ship place. And then when they do need more care, we make a change. And then sometimes, knock on wood, most of the time, we're able to transition them directly to what's going to be a good fit for them in the long run. And that, I think, is where it's really helpful for me to understand the disease processes that people are going through. There was a time where I had a client who had ALS. And given what I knew about ALS, I was thrilled that there was a community I could find for them where the owner and very involved caregivers were respiratory therapists. That made such a huge difference in that woman's care all the way to the end of her life. It's kind of a blessing to understand the whole trajectory of many of these diseases so that we can think ahead and keep people as comfortable as possible.
Right. Right.
To catch the full episode and explore more resources from the Probate Podcast, check the links in the description and be sure to subscribe for more tips each week.